Hello, everyone, and welcome back to English in Fluency. I'm your host, Alex, and I'm so happy that you're here with me today. This is the place where we don't just learn English, we also discover powerful ideas about life. My goal is to help you not only practice your English listening and speaking, but also to grow as a person. Every episode, we explore concepts that can truly make your life better. And today, we have a very special yet simple topic. Raise your standards. Raise your life. You may have heard this phrase before, but do you really understand the depth of what it means? In this episode, we're going to talk about how the level of your standards, those invisible lines that define what you accept, and what you don't accept in your life, can completely change your future. The simple truth is, when you raise your standards, you raise the quality of your life. Now, let me ask you a few questions, and be honest with yourself. Have you ever felt stuck in life? Have you ever had the feeling that you are doing your best, but somehow nothing truly changes? Perhaps you feel tired of repeating the same mistakes over and over. Or maybe you look at others around you, your friends, colleagues, or even people online, and wonder why they seem to be growing and improving, but you feel like you are standing still. If you have ever felt this way, please don't worry. You are absolutely not alone. Many people feel the same way. The wonderful news is that there is a clear and powerful way to move forward, and that path begins with the simple yet profound act of raising your standards. In this detailed episode, we'll explore what these standards actually mean in practical terms. We'll discuss why some people achieve more in life, and it's not because they are inherently smarter or luckier, but simply because they expect more from themselves and take action based on that expectation. I'll also share exactly how you can start raising your standards in very simple, practical ways. Beginning today, you will learn how seemingly small changes in your daily life, your habits, your attitude, your choices, can create massive, undeniable results over time. And don't worry for one moment if your English is not perfect. This entire script is designed exactly for you, the dedicated English learner who wants to practice and improve while absorbing meaningful life wisdom. I will speak slowly and clearly, and I highly encourage you to repeat the key phrases after me if you want to practice your English speaking and shadowing. By the time we finish this journey together, you will not only have a clear understanding of how to raise your standards, but you will also gain new, useful English words and phrases that you can immediately start using in your daily conversations. So, are you ready to grow? Are you ready to learn how to demand and expect more from yourself so you can create a better, more fulfilled version of your life? Then, let's begin this powerful journey together. Remember this core principle. When you raise your standards, you raise your life. Welcome to English in Fluency, where we master English and design a better life simultaneously. So, what does it really mean in plain English to raise your standards? Before we can discuss the how-to, we first need to build a clear understanding of what a standard is. In the simplest terms, your standards are the rules you set for yourself about what you accept and what you don't accept in your life. They are like invisible lines or a personal benchmark that shows how high or low your expectations are for your own behavior and results. These invisible lines powerfully decide how you behave, how you treat yourself, how you treat others, and critically, what you believe you deserve to have in your life. Let's use a concrete example to make this clearer. Let's talk about health. If you tell yourself, I really want to be healthy, but you frequently eat fast food or junk food, and you practically never exercise, then your standard for health is quite low. You are, by your actions, accepting that level of behavior and result. But if you say, I want to be healthy, and because of that, you make sure to eat fresh food, drink water consistently, and move your body every single day, then your standard for health is high. You have decided not to accept less than that from yourself. The fundamental difference between having low and high standards is not found in what people want, but in what they are consistently willing to accept and act on every single day. Let's take another common example, maybe about learning or studying. Imagine two students, Leo and Maya, both of whom desperately want to improve their English fluency. Leo says, I want to speak better English, but he only practices once a week, and he instantly gives up the moment the lesson feels difficult or boring. Maya says the exact same thing. I want to speak better English. But Maya decides that her personal standard is to practice every single day, even if it's only for 10 minutes, and she makes no excuses. Clearly, Maya has higher standards because she doesn't accept excuses for a lack of action. She expects a certain level of commitment from herself. And can you guess what happens over time? Maya, consistently practicing, becomes much more confident and more fluent than Leo. This is the simple power of standards at work. Our standards act like a thermostat in a room. When the temperature dips too low, the thermostat switches on the heat to bring it back up to the set standard. Your personal standards work in the same identical way. If the temperature of your life falls below your personal standard, for instance, if you don't keep your word or you skip your goals, you will immediately feel uncomfortable, and that discomfort will push you to change it and correct course. But if your standards are set too low, you may not even notice when things go wrong. You just accept it as normal. Why do our standards matter so much? Because they are the blueprint that shapes our results in every single area of our lives. Your life right now is a direct reflection of your standards. The quality of your relationships, your physical health, your work success, your personal confidence. All of these things are profoundly influenced by what you allow yourself to accept and what you refuse to accept. If your standard is to consistently give your best effort, you will inevitably grow and improve. If your standard is merely to just do okay, then your life will predictably stay just okay. Here is a profound, simple truth I want you to remember. We don't always get what we want in life, but we almost always get what we expect. And our personal standards are the mechanism that sets those expectations. If your standard is, I always keep my word, then you will reliably follow through with your promises, building trust in yourself and with others. But if your standard is, it's okay if I break my word sometimes, then you will quickly start to make excuses. Over time, this small difference in standard builds two completely different lives. Some people have a high standard for how they dress, how clearly they speak, or how they treat every person they meet. This isn't because they are fundamentally better people. It's because they have made a conscious decision not to accept anything less from themselves. Others may live with very low standards thinking, it doesn't matter. But the truth is, It absolutely does matter. Every small standard accumulates. Low standards build an average life. High standards build an extraordinary one. Imagine your life is a house. The floor of that house represents your standards. It is the absolute lowest level you allow yourself to fall to. If your floor, your standard, is low, you can live in a lot of mess, stress, disorganization, and persistent problems without feeling any urgent need to change or clean up. But if your floor, your standard, is high, the moment your life drops below it, for example, the moment you miss a goal, or you fail to keep a promise to yourself, you immediately notice it, feel the discomfort, and quickly fix it. That is the power of higher standards. They actively pull you up instead of passively letting you fall down. When you consciously decide to raise your standards, you are sending a powerful message to yourself and to the world that clearly says, "I deserve better, and I will do better." This doesn't mean you have to be perfect. No one is. It simply means you are no longer okay with operating at less than your full potential. It's not about being better than other people. It's profoundly about being better than you were yesterday. So, as we move into the next section of this episode, I want you to take a moment and think about this critical question. What are the standards I am currently living with right now? What things am I accepting in my life that are clearly not helping me grow or feel fulfilled? Because once you can honestly see where your standards are set, you can start the incredible process of lifting them, one deliberate step at a time. Now that we have clearly defined what standards are, let's dive into why it is so incredibly important to make the conscious effort to raise them. This part is crucial because when you deeply understand the powerful why behind needing higher standards, you will feel a much stronger, self-motivated push to truly change your life. Let's begin with something straightforward. Low standards keep us stuck in our comfort zone. It's the place where we avoid taking risks, where we never really push ourselves, and therefore, where we don't truly grow. When your standards are low, you let yourself off the hook by thinking things like, "It's okay if I don't try right now," or "I'll definitely start tomorrow." And what happens? That tomorrow, sadly, never arrives. You end up staying in the exact same spot, doing the exact same things, and getting the exact same results. Low standards make your life feel easier in the short term, but they make it fundamentally harder in the long term. While low standards might protect you from temporary, short-term discomfort, they also absolutely prevent you from growing into your best, most capable self. High standards, on the other hand, actively push you forward. They don't just influence, they shape your actions. And your actions, without fail, create your ultimate results. Your life today is the result of your past actions, and those past actions came directly from your past standards. If your standard is to always do your absolute best, you will consistently work harder, learn faster, and achieve more meaningful things. If your standard is just to do enough to get by, your results will perfectly match that minimal effort. So, your standards don't just control what you do, they fundamentally control what you become. When you commit to raising your standards, you immediately start building better habits. You begin to do those small, consistent things that truly make you feel proud of yourself. Maybe you decide that your new standard is to wake up 15 minutes earlier, to read one page of a book every day, or to actively speak English for 10 minutes daily. These small, deliberate actions are born from your new, higher standard of living. Over time, these actions change your day-to-day behavior and, crucially, your mindset. You start to see yourself in a different, more positive light, as a person who takes responsibility, as someone who consistently does what they say they will do. That consistent follow-through gives you more and more confidence. Confidence doesn't magically appear from luck. It comes from the powerful, consistent act of keeping the promises you make to yourself. When you follow your own higher standards, you start to build unshakable self-trust. You feel mentally strong because you know, deep down, that you can count on yourself. That rock-solid confidence then positively affects every single area of your life. Higher standards also profoundly improve your relationships. When you respect yourself more, you naturally start to choose to spend time with people who respect you too. You automatically stop accepting toxic, negative friendships or energy into your life. You begin to intentionally surround yourself with people who reliably lift you up and support your growth. And, of course, high standards inevitably lead to more success and happiness. Success here doesn't necessarily mean you have to be extremely rich or famous. It means living a life that feels authentic, right, and fulfilling for you. When you have high standards, you give your best effort to everything you undertake. You take genuine pride in your work. You grow. You learn consistently, and you create results that make you feel proud. That feeling, the feeling of significant, steady progress, is one of the happiest and most motivating feelings in the entire world. Here is a truth that I want you to remember. You become what you accept. If you habitually accept laziness and procrastination, you will become a lazy person. If you allow yourself to be constantly surrounded by negativity, you will become negative. But if you commit to accepting only your best effort, honesty, kindness, consistency, and growth, you will eventually become someone amazing. It all starts with the boundary you decide to set about what you are going to allow into your life. Let me share a very simple story with a new character. There was a young man named Omar who always dreamed of being a good student and an effective learner, but he had a constant struggle with laziness. He often rationalized, "I'll definitely study tomorrow." Because of this low standard, he failed many important exams and started to believe the lie that he wasn't smart enough. One day, his mentor, an older, wise man, told him directly, "Omar, you are not failing because you are not smart. You are failing because your standards for yourself are too low." That single powerful sentence was a complete turning point. Omar decided that from that day forward, his new, non-negotiable standard would be, "I never go to bed without studying or practicing for at least 1 hour." At first, it was incredibly hard. He wanted to give up many times, the old habits pulling him back, but he kept going. After just a few months, he noticed a massive internal shift. He was much more confident, far more organized, and his grades dramatically improved. People at school and at work started to respect his discipline. His life didn't change in one single night, but step by step, day by day, it absolutely did. He raised his standards, and his life followed. You don't need to change everything all at once. You just need to make the solid decision that the old version of you, the one with low standards, is no longer acceptable or good enough. The moment you declare, "I want more for myself," your mind and your actions immediately begin to align with that new, higher expectation. So, If you feel stuck right now, I urge you to ask yourself this tough, honest question. What am I currently accepting in my life that is actively keeping me here, stuck in the same place? Because the moment you stop accepting average, you start creating greatness. Remember this core truth. Your life will never rise higher than the standards you set for it. So, make them strong, make them incredibly positive, and make them uniquely yours. Now that we know exactly why raising your standards is so important and what they represent, the big practical question is, how do we actually do it? The fantastic news is that it is absolutely possible for everyone, and you can literally start the process today. Raising your standards is not a goal of being perfect. It is about making small, consistent, deliberate choices that slowly but surely reshape the trajectory of your life. Let's break the process down into 5 practical steps that are easy to remember and simple to follow. The first step is to know your current standards because you simply cannot change something you don't clearly understand. Take a quiet moment for honest self-reflection and ask yourself these hard questions. What do I accept every single day that I truly know I shouldn't? Where in my life am I settling for less than I know I deserve? What habits, what people, or what daily routines am I currently allowing that are actively holding me back from my goals? For example, maybe you habitually accept being late for commitments, skipping your English practice, or always choosing unhealthy, convenient food. These, right now, are your current standards. By clearly and honestly noticing them, you begin to illuminate the specific areas where change is most needed. The second step is to decide what you truly want, because raising your standards requires crystal clear clarity about your most important goals and your core values. Ask yourself, what kind of person do I truly want to become? What things are most important to me right now? How do I genuinely want my life to feel? If your deep goal is to become fluent in English, your new standard must be, I will practice English every day, even if it is just for 10 minutes. If you want to be physically healthier, your standard could be, I will eat fresh food at every meal and exercise 3 times a week. Clear goals give your standards a purpose and a direction. The third step is to take small daily actions because raising your standards does not mean trying to change every single thing overnight. Start small. Small, deliberate actions, repeated every single day, reliably create huge, positive results over time. If your new standard is to read more, start by committing to reading just 1 single page a day. If your standard is to speak English better, actively practice and repeat 1 new sentence or phrase every day. The fourth step is to stay consistent and patient, because change is rarely instantaneous. You must constantly remind yourself that every small action counts, even if you can't immediately see big, dramatic results. Think about a tiny seed. It doesn't grow into a massive tree in 1 single day. But with patient, consistent care and time, it grows tall and strong. Your higher standards are exactly like planting those seeds in your life. The fifth step is to surround yourself with higher standards, because your environment and the people you spend time with have a huge, powerful influence on you. If you spend most of your time with people who have low standards, it will be much harder to raise your own. But if you intentionally spend time with people who are motivated, disciplined, positive, and actively growing, you will be naturally and powerfully inspired to improve and match their level. You can also raise your standards by actively choosing the content you consume. Reading inspiring books, listening to motivating podcasts, and watching informative videos. Remember, raising your standards is not a quest for absolute perfection. It is a fundamental daily decision that you deserve more, followed by taking consistent, small steps toward that more. Start with honest self-reflection. Set clear goals, take small actions every day, stay patient, and intentionally surround yourself with people and things that fuel your growth. So, I want you to think about this as we move on. Which one of these 5 steps can I start doing today? Even one small change can begin your powerful journey to a better life. Now let's address something very important: the predictable challenges you will absolutely face when you try to raise your standards. Changing your life is rarely easy, and it is completely normal to feel moments of fear, laziness, or self-doubt. One very common challenge is the fear of change. When you try to raise your standards, you are, by definition, leaving your safe comfort zone. Your mind may whisper things like, "This is too difficult," or "I'm not ready for this big change." This fear is a normal, universal human experience. But here is a simple, powerful truth. Fear is simply a signal that you are growing. You must learn to feel afraid and still move forward. Every small step you take, even when you feel scared, makes your life better and your confidence stronger. Another huge challenge is self-doubt and laziness. Sometimes you might think, "I can't do this," or "I will never truly change." Other times, you may simply feel too lazy, tired, or unmotivated to even start. The key here is not to passively wait for motivation to arrive. Motivation often comes after you take action, not before it. Even the smallest actions, like practicing English for just 5 minutes, or cleaning just one corner of your room, can generate immediate energy and confidence. To overcome the twin obstacles of fear and self-doubt, you can use simple mindset shifts and regular encouragement phrases. For example, repeat to yourself, "I can do this, step by step," or "I am learning and growing every single day." Another critical mindset shift is to focus intently on progress, not perfection. Every small, tiny improvement is a victory and a success. It is also vital to remember that change is slow and non-linear. If you try something new and you fail or stumble, do not feel defeated or bad. Mistakes are part of the process. The only truly important thing is to get back up, learn a lesson from the stumble, and continue moving forward. When you raise your standards and continue to act despite the challenges, you will start to notice powerful changes in your life. You will feel much more confident in your own abilities. You may begin to speak English more fluently, consistently complete your personal goals, or treat others and yourself with more genuine respect. Your daily habits will naturally improve. Here are some practical, simple tips to stay motivated when things get tough. Reward yourself every time you meet your new standard, even a very small one, to help your brain enjoy the process of growth. Remember your clear goal to make it easier to take the necessary actions, even when they feel hard. Focus on consistency over perfection, because some days will inevitably be better than others, and the key is to keep going. Finally, remember this simple truth. You become what you accept. If you accept laziness, fear, and excuses, you will stay exactly the same. But if you accept higher standards, hard work, and growth, your life will dramatically change. So whenever you feel tired, scared, or doubtful, silently remind yourself, I am growing, I am learning, I am raising my standards. Now, let's focus on something extremely practical. Simple daily practices. These are small, easy-to-implement actions that you can start doing every single day to begin raising your standards immediately. Remember, change does not need to be big, dramatic, or difficult. Small, consistent actions are the secret to creating huge, sustainable differences over time. The first simple practice is to make your bed every morning. This may sound trivial, but it is incredibly powerful. When you make your bed, you start your day with one immediate, successful accomplishment, a small win that sets a positive tone for the entire rest of your day. You are sending a clear message to yourself. I care about my space, and I care about my life. Even this tiny action raises your standard because it instills discipline and consistency. The second practice is to speak politely and kindly to everyone. Words are tremendously powerful tools. When you consciously choose to be kind, respectful, and clear in your language, you raise your standard for how you treat both others and yourself. Simple, intentional phrases like please or thank you can create a wonderfully positive environment around you. The third practice is to spend at least 10 minutes learning something new every day. Learning does not have to be difficult or long. It could be reading just one page of an interesting book, listening to a short English podcast like this one, or practicing one new skill. When you commit even a small amount of time, just 10 minutes, to learning daily, you dramatically raise your standard for personal growth and intellectual curiosity. The fourth practice is to keep every promise you make to yourself. Breaking promises, even small ones, lowers your self-standard and makes it easier to accept future excuses. On the other hand, keeping even the smallest promises strengthens your self-discipline and your belief in yourself. Every time you successfully follow through on something you said you would do, you are actively raising your standard. You are telling yourself, I am reliable. I respect my own word. Here is the key to implementation. You do not need to do all these actions at once. Pick just one new standard to start today. Maybe today, you start by making your bed every morning. Next week, you add the standard of speaking kindly. The week after, you begin your 10 minutes of daily learning. Small daily practices are powerful because they are easy enough to do and easy enough to repeat consistently. They slowly but profoundly shape your habits, your core mindset, and your eventual results. You do not need extra money, endless time, or any special skills. You just need a firm commitment and steady consistency. So, I encourage you right now to make a decision. Choose one small daily practice, just one, and start it today. Do it consistently. Remember, raising your standards is not about doing everything perfectly. It is about committing to taking small, consistent steps toward a better life. Now, let's make everything we have discussed even more real and relatable with a short, inspiring story. I want to tell you about a young woman named Eva. Eva is not famous. She is just an ordinary person. But her story perfectly illustrates the quiet, life-changing power of raising your standards. Eva had always felt a little lost and stuck in her life. She worked a demanding, monotonous job in a local store, and every day felt exactly the same. She would come home exhausted, fall onto the sofa, watch endless television, and rely on convenient, often unhealthy takeaway food. She desperately wanted more from her life, but she felt a constant fear that stopped her from trying anything new. One evening, Eva came across a motivational video, similar to this podcast, about the concept of raising your personal standards. She had a moment of profound realization. She had been unconsciously accepting far less from life and from herself than she truly deserved. She immediately decided that she would commit to making small, deliberate changes, starting right then. First, she started with the simplest thing. She made her bed every morning. It was a small, 5-minute action, but it instantly made her feel more organized, disciplined, and proud of herself. Next, she made a promise to herself that she would learn something new every day. She began spending just 15 minutes each evening reading a book or listening to an English learning podcast. She also consciously decided that her new standard for communication was to speak politely and kindly to everyone. At the beginning, it was a real struggle. Eva felt the pull of the old habits. She often felt lazy, and she constantly doubted her ability to keep going. But she stubbornly kept taking those small, daily actions. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, things began to shift. She noticed she had more energy in the mornings. Her mind felt sharper and more focused, and she started to feel genuinely happier and more positive about herself. Her confidence grew not from magic, but because she was consistently keeping her small promises and actively improving herself every day. A few months later, Eva saw bigger, life-altering changes. She used her newfound confidence to apply for a promotion at her job, and her dedication and clear communication impressed her manager, who gave her the new role. She even started taking an online course in graphic design, something she had dreamed of doing for years, but never dared to try. Her relationships with her family and friends improved dramatically because she treated them kindly and consistently, and they, in turn, noticed her confident, positive outlook. Eva had successfully raised her standards, and her life had faithfully started to rise with her. What makes Eva's story so powerful is that she did not try to transform her entire life in one day. She started with small, simple, seemingly insignificant actions, and she stayed relentlessly consistent. She understood that raising standards is about making a fundamental decision that you deserve a better life, and then taking small, measurable steps every day to earn it. So, I want you to remember Eva's story. When you feel discouraged or overwhelmed, remember that every small choice you make, learning for 10 minutes, speaking politely, keeping a promise to yourself, is like planting the precious seed for a better future. Her story proves that raising your standards works, and it can absolutely work for you too. It all starts with one small intentional step today. As we come to the close of today's powerful episode, let's take a moment to briefly recap everything we have learned. This summary will help you cement the main ideas in your memory and make it much easier to take effective action in your own life. Raising your standards may sound like a big, intimidating concept, but as we've seen, it is entirely about taking small, consistent, and deliberate actions that improve your life, step by step, every day. First, we defined that standards are the level of quality you accept in your life, and that you become what you accept. Then, we covered the critical reasons why raising standards is essential. They push you out of the comfort zone, build confidence, improve relationships, and lead to greater happiness. We explored the 5 practical steps. Know your current standards, decide what you want, take small daily actions, stay consistent, and surround yourself with higher standards. We also talked about overcoming challenges like fear and self-doubt by focusing on progress, not perfection. And we shared Eva's inspiring story to show how small habits lead to big change. Finally, we emphasized simple daily practices like making your bed, speaking kindly, learning for 10 minutes, and keeping your promises to yourself. Now, here is the most important takeaway. The one thought I want you to carry with you. Raising your standards is not about achieving perfection. It is about making a deep personal decision that you deserve a better life, and then having the discipline to take small, measurable, consistent steps toward that better life. Every single day, your standards are the ultimate guide for your habits, your choices, and your results. So, I encourage you to take action right now. Think about one single area of your life where you feel you need to raise your standards. Choose it, and start with one small habit that perfectly reflects your new, higher standard, and commit to doing it every day without fail. Remember, it does not have to be perfect. The true key is consistency, patience, and unwavering belief in yourself. I want you to end this episode with a clear, simple, and powerful call to action. Start small. Start today. Take one step, however tiny, and commit to it. Your life will rise with the standards you set. You have the inherent power to choose better habits, better actions, and ultimately, better results. Every day is a brand new, clean opportunity to grow. Remember, your standards shape your life. Raise your standards, and your life will follow. I want to thank you so much for listening to English in Fluency. Spending this valuable time with me shows that you are deeply committed to learning, growing, and improving not just your English, but also your life. Remember, both learning English and raising your standards are long, exciting journeys. Small steps, taken every single day, will bring about massive changes over time. I am truly proud of you for taking this important step today. Before we say goodbye, I invite you to reflect for a moment on what you learned. You might even want to repeat a few powerful phrases to yourself right now, like, "I deserve better. I will take small, consistent steps every day. I am raising my standards, and my life is improving." I also want to leave you with a final, inspiring message to carry with you this week. Raising your standards is not just about doing more or being perfectly flawless. It is fundamentally about deciding to respect yourself, your time, and the enormous potential of your life. Every single small action you take matters. Every choice to do better, learn more, or act with kindness moves you forward on your path. Think of yourself as a careful gardener. Each positive habit is like a seed. Water it daily with consistency, and in time, your life will blossom beautifully and beyond your expectations. So, today, make that one small, meaningful choice and commit to it. Remember that even the smallest step, when repeated consistently, is the absolute path to big, profound results. Thank you again for listening to English in Fluency. I hope this episode gave you fresh ideas, renewed motivation, and solid confidence to raise your standards and improve your life. Keep learning, keep practicing your English with dedication, and keep growing every single day. I believe in you, and I know you can make small changes that will bring huge results. Until next time, stay positive, take deliberate action, and raise your standards. Goodbye, and take care.